Yeah, I know you're a tough girl. That looked painful.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness.
I did tear my MCL. And if you're going to hurt your knee, that is like the best possible case. And so I think the league as a whole, but really us, we've just gone through so much adversity. And then injury wise, has just been like, you can't make that up.
Just when you think the Indiana Fever have finally caught a break, life throws another curveball. No, scratch that. It throws a bowling ball straight into their knees. Literally. Sophie Cunningham, one of the team's fiercest competitors and one of the few players holding things together during this injury-plagued season, has officially been ruled out for the rest of the year with a torn MCL. Now, if you're cringing just hearing that, imagine being the one on the court when it happened. One wrong step, one awkward collision, and suddenly your entire season flashes before your eyes. And yet somehow, this wasn't just about the injury. It turned into something way bigger. A storyline of controversy, resilience, and oh yeah, a little bit of WNBA Twitter chaos sprinkled in for good measure. And now, let's rewind to that afternoon in Uncasville, where the stage was set for a showdown, but fate had another, far more brutal script in mind.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness.
The Indiana Fever were locked in a gritty duel with the Connecticut Sun, piles of fatigue on both benches, playoff dreams hanging by a thread, and no breathing room, just relentless pressure, like two heavyweight fighters trading blows and neither willing to blink. We're in the second quarter. The Fever are scrambling to stay within striking distance, and that's when Sophie Cunningham decides she's going to be the player to tilt the odds. She leaps into the passing lane, arms flaring, eyes locked on the ball. This is the hustle that makes fans rise from their seats. The kind of defense that shifts momentum. Then chaos descends. As Bria Hartley slings a pass, she loses her footing, tumbles, or in a cruel twist of physics, lands right onto Sophie's right knee. Eyewitnesses later said Hartley fell across Cunningham's leg, bending it awkwardly, triggering that sickening pop every athlete fears.
Have an update on Sophie?
No. Do you have an update on Sophie? Yeah.
Let's do more like MRI sometime.
Yeah, MRI tomorrow.
Sorry, just quickly on something. I mean, what's going through your mind when you see her down like that, and you're jogging over there?
I'm like, holy shit.
In flashes of realization, Sophie's face shifted from laser focus to sheer agony. Instantly, she did that horrible limbo shuffle, 3-4 steps in agony trying to stay upright. The crowd gasped. Teammates turned on a dime. The arena's energy went from competitive buzz to collective gasp. Medical staff sprinted over, doctors on one side, trainers clutching ice packs on the other, and Sophie had to be helped off the court. She was doubled over, a war cry of pain tearing from her throat, leaving no doubt this wasn't just a sprain. The pain radiated through the baseline like a siren. Back in the locker room, fear and silence echoed louder than any crowd. Meanwhile, on the court, the game mechanically continued. But in reality, the Fever just lost their heart.
How are you feeling with that? Obviously, you came back and
Yeah.
seem to be fine.
Yeah, I'm good. I think we faced some adversity with some injuries this game. But you know what? We're used to that. We've had that at the beginning of the year. This is just another hump that we're going to get over, and we're gonna be okay.
Fans watched the rest of the game through a haze of anger, shock, and fear, not just for the outcome, but for the player. And though the team powered through with the kind of raw determination that borders on defiance, the news wasn't good. An MRI confirmed it. A torn MCL, sidelining Sophie for the rest of the season. A phrase that sounds clinical, but on that court it translated to something so much more. It was a loss, a void, a heartbreak. Let's talk details. Sophie had been averaging 8.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game in her first season, with the Fever not eye-popping, but steady, reliable, gritty contributions.
Didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season, but she is expected to make a full recovery before next season. So obviously that is good news.
She was the glue, especially with Caitlin Clark still in rehab from her groin issues. Losing her felt like losing a cornerstone recognition that didn't just come from the numbers, but from her energy, leadership, and voice on both ends of the floor. From the injury itself through the furious comeback victory that followed, the drama unfolded like a cinematic script. Kelsey Mitchell erupted with a career-high 38 points, including 10 in overtime, leading the Fever to a 99-93 win, the largest comeback in franchise history, CT Insider. Imagine that. limping off with a season-ending injury, and then, hours later, your team, bruised but unbowed, reverses a 21-point deficit to win in dramatic fashion. It's poetic and it's heartbreaking all at once. Sophie's invisibility on that final stat sheet doesn't erase her importance.
I think that we have a really good group. We're still a tight-knit group. We're adding new players in that are amazing. O's been around the league for a long time, and I know you don't think so, but it's a blessing that you were on another team because we need you here. And so I just think it's an adjustment period.
Every defense call, every spark of energy that sparked the comeback was built on what she'd been providing all season long. Effort, grit, toughness, the heart of a team fighting for identity. What amplifies the sting is how avoidable the whole scenario could have been. Less reflex from the refs, less leniency in enforcement, perhaps no mismatch in who lands where. Fans weren't just upset about the injury, they were furious about what it symbolized. A league asleep at the switch while players bleed, literally, on its hardwood. And then there's Sophie's response on her podcast, composed and clear, no ill intent, just a play. She's family. A reminder that beyond the pain, the rage, the standing ovations and viral clips, these are teammates, friends. The hurt was severe, but the grace was real.
Played the old team. You know, there was maybe a little bit of beef because of our last podcast.
You think this is becoming a rival?
Our teams don't really like each other anyway, just because of I don't know, just kind of like her leaving. Some of those players used to be under our coaching staff, and so there's just a lot there.
So now the Fever stare down the barrel of the rest of the season without their enforcer, with a possibility that Clark will return, but somehow still standing. A puzzle of resilience, audacity, and heartbreak. And behind it all, Sophie's impact still felt, still echoing. The result? Cunningham's season is officially over, and not just her season, but maybe the Fever's last glimmer of stability. Already missing Caitlin Clark for much of the year, already dealing with injuries to Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald, this team was balancing on one leg, pun intended, before Sophie went down.
Was just in the paint trying to be help side. Someone ran into my knee and it just snapped and knee injuries are weird to me. I don't really like thinking about them, but I felt a pop right away. And so I'm really in good spirits because I knew that I hurt myself pretty good. But I will say I'm just thankful. I know this is not probably the time to say this, but I'm just thankful to be where I'm at.
Now they're hobbling, limping, and duct taping together whatever scraps of a roster they have left. And look, let's be clear. An MCL tear isn't the worst injury possible. At least it's not an ACL, which could have had her out for 12 months, but it's still devastating. A torn MCL can take months to heal, and for an athlete, those months are packed with pain, rehab, and more pain. For the Fever, it means one less sharpshooter, one less spark plug, one less heartbeat on the court. And here's the kicker. Sophie wasn't just a role player. She had become the glue, the personality, the voice when Caitlin Clark wasn't there to carry the spotlight. She had been the one backing up her teammate, defending her publicly, making sure the message was clear this team had each other's backs, and fans loved her for it. That's why this moment didn't just feel like an injury, it felt like a gut punch to the entire fan base. If you're fired up right now, welcome to the club. And since you're here, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe because we're about to break this whole thing down. The drama, the fallout, the family clapbacks, and the way Sophie managed to turn this nightmare into one of the most inspiring, defiant messages we've seen in the league this year. Seriously, you don't want to miss what comes next. So back to the court. Sophie's collapse didn't just sting because of the torn ligament. It stung because of what happened around it. First, Hartley's grin. Now, again, maybe she was just grimacing. Maybe it was nervous laughter. But let's be honest, if you're caught smiling while another player is writhing in pain, you're not exactly winning the PR battle. Fans exploded online, clips circulated like wildfire, and the captions ranged from dirty play to this is disgusting to did she really just smile? The league, of course, responded with the enthusiasm of a DMV clerk. Silence, no review, no fine, no comment, which only added fuel to the fire. Fans began saying what many had whispered all season. Sophie was targeted. Some even went further, accusing Hartley of deliberately launching herself into Cunningham's knee. Whether you believe that or not, the optics were damning. And speaking of optics, Sophie's sister Lindsay had had enough. She took to social media and basically said what every fan was thinking, but in far spicier words, maybe the league should worry less about finding players for speaking out and more about protecting athletes on the court. Translation: WNBA, do your job. It was raw, it was personal, and it hit hard. But it also unleashed the trolls. Suddenly, Sophie's family was being attacked online by haters who accused them of being overdramatic.
And welcome back to Mohegan Sun Arena. Scary moment as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off the floor, heading back to the locker room. This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of...
Which is ironic, because if having your knee nearly destroyed doesn't warrant drama, what does? Spilling your Starbucks order? But Sophie didn't just sit quietly. Oh no, she came back with what might be the quote of the year. F around and find out. Short, sharp, and dripping with confidence. It wasn't just aimed at the player who hit her, or the referees who ignored it. It was aimed at anyone doubting her toughness, her voice, or her place in this league. And fans ate it up. It instantly became a rallying cry, printed on memes, hashtags, and even fan posters. Sophie turned her injury into a battle flag, waving it for anyone who had ever felt ignored, overlooked, or dismissed. It was the kind of energy that transcends basketball. It was personal, it was powerful, and it was exactly what the Fever needed to keep believing. Meanwhile, the Fever themselves decided to respond the only way they knew how, by fighting harder. In one of the most improbable performances of the season, Indiana staged the greatest comeback in franchise history, beating the Connecticut Sun in overtime. No Sophie, no Caitlin, no excuses. They clawed, scrapped, and fought like a team possessed. Head coach Stephanie White praised the toughness, calling it something you simply can't teach. And she's right. You can't teach heart. You can't teach resilience. And that's what this team has in spades, even if the basketball gods keep handing them lemons. But here's the sobering truth. Toughness alone doesn't win championships. Losing Sophie isn't just losing a shooter. It's losing her energy, her leadership, her ability to spark the team when things are flat. She was the firecracker, the one who could hit a three, scream into the stands, and suddenly the Fever were alive again. Without her, the rest of the roster has to find that same spark inside themselves. Can they do it? Sure. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. And this brings us back to the league. Fans aren't just angry about Sophie's injury. They're angry about what it represents. A pattern, dangerous plays left unchecked, refs swallowing whistles, a league that seems to prioritize smooth gameplay over player safety. And here's where the sarcastic part comes in. Congratulations, WNBA. You've successfully turned referees into the stars of the show. Not exactly the marketing strategy you want, right? Fans are demanding accountability, better officiating, and actual protection for athletes. Because at the end of the day, no one tunes in to see who didn't blow the whistle. But through all the chaos, all the outrage, Sophie Cunningham has managed to do something incredible. She's turned her personal setback into a rallying cry for her team, her fans, and maybe even the league itself. She's shown grit, humor, and defiance in the face of a brutal situation, and in doing so, she's proven she's more than just a player. She's a leader, a voice, and a symbol of resilience. She may not step back on the court this season, but her presence is still very much there, echoing in every huddle, every fan chant, every meme with F around and find out splashed across it. So the question now is, how many more injuries will it take before the league steps up? How many more stars have to go down before officials take safety seriously? And more importantly, can the Fever salvage their season without the woman who, up until this point, was their heartbeat? One thing's for sure, Sophie Cunningham may be sidelined, but she's not silenced. And if the league thought her injury would quiet her down, well, they're about to find out exactly what happens when you F around.